E.N.D here. Part 3 in my tutorial regarding Mutate, the crazy mechanic from Ikoria. I already did 2 videos covering basics about Mutate and also a part 2 of Mutate mechanic covering certain scenarios regarding Mutate. Today I'm going to do a part 3 covering a trick regarding Mutate. So let's start. Here in play we have already our Moss Viper, a 1/1 green creature with Death Touch, not very scary creature, and we're going to mutate it with Ghidorah. Ghidorah, King of the Cosmos, for 3, 1 hybrid mana, red and green and 2 blue. I'm going to cast Ghidorah for the mutate cost. Ghidorah goes on this deck. If it's not countered, Ghidorah will mutate with Moss Viper. You have the right, you have to decide if you put Ghidorah on top or you put Ghidorah on bottom. This depends the power and toughness of the creature. If you put it on bottom, it will be a 1/1 with Death Touch, Flying and Trample. If you put it on top, it will be a 6/6 with Flying, Trample, Death Touch, and whenever the creature and the ability of Ghidorah, both abilities will be inherited by mutated creature. So Death Touch, Flying, Trample, and whenever this creature mutates, and here the same. So wanting a bigger creature, I will put Ghidorah on top. It's a 6/6, Flying, Trample, and Death Touch. With whenever this creature mutates, exile the cards on the top of your library. Now, the strength of Mutate is that whenever you mutate a creature and the creature doesn't have any summoning sickness, so Moss Viper was here from my turn 1, now it's turn 6 because I am going to cast for Mutate mechanic. So Ghidorah, it's there from my first turn, does not have summon sickness, it can attack this turn. I'm going to mutate Ghidorah on Moss Viper. I will give it Death Touch. Ghidorah doesn't have summon sickness because it mutated a creature already on the battlefield for more than 1 turn. So that is the strength of Mutate. So my Ghidorah can swing as soon as it hits the battlefield. That is the strength of Mutate. Now, you know that you can continue mutating a creature with multiple creatures that have Mutate. So here I have my Bioquartz Godzilla. I'm going to cast its Mutate. I'm going to ask for its Mutate and I'm going to put it on top of my Ghidorah. So now I have a much bigger creature, but it's still a 6/6 with all the abilities of the 3 creatures. So Flying, Trample, you may cast Brokos, Apex of Forever from Giga for Mutate with whenever it mutates, and it has Death Touch. But it's still a 6/6. And because the creature was already in the battlefield, it does not have summon sickness. So now what happens? Let's say you have your creature in play and your opponent is, let's say, at 12. So the next turn, if you swing with your mutated creature, that is a 6/6. Still scary, but you're not going to win. What you can do, and I'm going to show you the trick. A trick can be used even as an attack and even as a defense. Let's say you have, in all formats, there are cards that can flicker a creature. I will take this card as an example, Flicker of the Fate, 1 and 1 white. It's an instant. You exile target creature or enchantment and then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So what I'm going to do, at the end of my opponent's turn, I'm going to flicker my mutated creature. Let's put here the exile zone. I'm going to flicker my mutated creature. All formats, standard, pioneer, modern, all formats have these type of cards, so they are available in any format. They're usually common or uncommon, so really they don't really have a great cost. So I'm going to flicker my creature. If it resolves, my mutated creature will go into exile. And let's put it in my exile zone. Now see what happens. The rules for Mutate states that whenever the mutated creature change zone, graveyard, hand, deck, or exile, all cards will go to the appropriate zone. So in my case, all cards, that is the Bioquartz, the Ghidorah, and the Viper, will go into exile. But when they are in exile, they will become 3 different cards. Now, the flicker say that I have to return it under the owner's control. So what happens is this: all 3 creatures will be back in play at the end of the turn. So from exile, all creatures will be back in play at the end of the turn, but now it's not a mutated creature. Now you have 3 separate creatures. Because it was at the end of your opponent's turn, now it's my turn, and the 3 creatures does not have summon sickness. Let me repeat. You had a mutated creature, 3 cards, 4 cards, 5 cards. You flicker. Any type of instant or spell that can flicker a creature, at the end of your opponent's turn, it's important, at the end of your opponent's turn, you flicker, it goes into exile. In exile, all creatures will separate. No mutate in exile. And when they come back, they will be 3 separate creatures. Because it was your opponent's turn, they don't have summon sickness. And then, because it's your turn, you will swing with all 3 creatures. You will swing with a 6/6 trample, with a 6/6 flying and trample, and a 1/1 death touch. This is a very interesting trick you can use with mutate. So, really and truly, you can separate your cards when they are in a different zone and bring them back, and you have much more creature base, much more power to swing at your opponent. Now, I said that this can be used as combat or as defend. How you can use it as a defend? Let's say your opponent will target your mutated creature that you took so much resources to bring it so large and so big. Let's say with a mere murder, destroy target creature. So targets with a murder your creature, and your creature will be destroyed. And when your creature will be destroyed, the creature will go into the graveyard. All 3 cards will go into the graveyard. But what you can do? You can obviously do the trick of the flicker. So you can, your opponent's targets with murder. Murder goes on the stack. I will flicker my creature. Flicker goes on the stack. Flicker resolves. My mutated creature goes into exile. Murder resolves, nothing to target, goes into graveyard. In exile, my creature will separate and will be back at the end of the turn in 3 separate cards. At least I defended my creature, I still have 3 creatures on the battlefield, and I still have power to swing at my opponent. There's also another trick. Let's say you can use cards that unsummon, that return target creature to your owner's hand, but obviously returning your, let's put it, our mutated creature. If you use cards like unsummon, or here I have stern dismissal, if I return the creature to my hand as a defense, I will return it to my hand. Into my hand the creature will be 3 separate cards, and then I need a lot of resources to cast them again, and I will have summon sickness. So you can imagine that flickering your creature is much better than unsummoning your creature. So this is a nice trick how you can use mutate, a nice trick for mutate mechanic. I hope you like this video. As always, here's the subscription button. Subscribe for my channel for more and more interesting videos about Magic the Gathering and the collectible world.